Worst men's hairstyles.
We have to win a game now to get out of the toilet bowl bracket.
And this is the biggest match of the Flock League, period, hands down.
1 week from now, I will be in the championship.
The matchup of the year, I would say at this point.
So I think these are the two best teams. The winner of this, in my opinion, is just automatically the league winner.
This is it.
Now, if I was to preview the matchups this week, we have what I would consider the championship this week between Avery and Zach.
The matchup of the year, I would say at this point. Avery's team coming in hot, 7-7, but the points for, I believe, second to Zach in this league. So
Obviously, part of my scouting every week is making sure that I know as much about my opponent as possible. And this has been something I've done every single week. And obviously, again, I've lost 7 games. It hasn't worked that well. But I did want to know because I've never been to Australia. Here's the main things I know about Australia. And I asked Zach about this when we were in Austin. Like, I know they have really big spiders there.
Okay, now here's what I will say. You know, are you ready? All right, gather in a circle. It's time for story time with Zach. Well, you know, you brought up the Huntsman Spider, and I have an incredible story for you guys. Okay, so
I think these are the two best teams remaining in the fantasy postseason. They happen to play each other in the semifinals. Seating's a little bit weird there.
my first night ever in Australia. All right, this is back in 2013. My first night in Australia. I'm in a house living with a bunch of guys because of college, and you know, I think I'm living with like 7 other dudes, and I go up to my room. You know, it's a really late night. Just got a bunch of groceries, trying to settle in. It's like 11 p.m. at night, okay? And I sit down on my bed. And as I sit down on my bed, I look to my right, and I'm like, what is this big black figure?
The criticism has continued concerning my hair and in the style that I showcase on a weekly basis. I mean, I for one think it's beautiful. It's long, it's wonderful, and
Zach has obviously been arguably the main character of this show because his clips are hilarious. He's a funny dude, and people like him. So there's that. And I think he has absolutely earned it. The dude is hilarious. The thing about Zach, though, and I feel like you've picked up on this if you followed the series long enough, is when Zach whines about something, Zach whines.
And I'm like, holy hell. I'm expecting, I'm like, wait, no, it was a spider, huge spider, you know, about the size of a human hand on the wall. And I saw it, and you know, have you guys ever seen like those fake spiders before? You know, those like joke spiders, right? They hang it on the wall.
okay, guys, I think you've taken it a little bit too far. You can have your own opinion about, you know, what hairstyles you prefer, what type of cuts you prefer. But don't tell me that I have the worst hairstyle of all time, that I have the #1 worst hairstyle you've ever seen. I mean, literally, just look no further than Google. I mean, worst men's hairstyles. I mean, look at some of these.
I thought, okay, clearly my housemates are trying to play a prank on me because there's no way this spider is real. Let me show you guys.
Now, the matchup we all care about the most is going to be between Avery and Zach. There's obviously been a little bit of drama in the league going on because Zach thinks that we should have set the league to automatically reseed so that he would have played basically the worst remaining seed. And honestly, between Avery and Thomas, I'm scared of both teams. Avery's team is really good and is doing well right now, but Thomas has been the most productive team in the league for the last 2 weeks, I believe. So,
all right, look, I did not plan on even addressing this in this video, but Avery decided to bring it up.
And it has been very clear over the last week, whether it's on the YouTube videos or in the sleeper chat or in the Discord, Zach is he's clutching his pearls. How dare he have to play me in the second round?
So last video, I felt like I said everything I needed to say, but again, Avery's bringing it back up again. Yes, I am a little bit confused by the playoff bracket. Logistically, it doesn't make sense for me, the #1 seed, to face the 3 seed when Mason, who barely got a bye week, is facing Thomas without Montgomery and Alvin Kamara.
And you know what I think is funny? Nobody was saying a word when I was out here getting unlucky and dropping games and being, again, dang near first in points for in the entire season, first in max points for in the entire season. I was dropping games. I ended up at a 500 record because I was getting unlucky every week. Nobody said a word. That's part of fantasy football. And I agree. That is part of fantasy football. But when that record bumped me just low enough to have to play Zach in the second round, and Zach got mad about it, everybody's like, oh, you're right, Zach. I'm with you. This is terrible. Oh, right. You know what you guys are? You're soft. It's soft.
clearly the number 1 seed. Like, just logistically, I feel like that makes sense. It's the same thing the NFL does, right? Like, it makes no sense. And I have called this league before a Mickey Mouse league. It's just another example. You know, Mason has all the power to do something about it, but you know, he's like that hot dog guy and I Think You Should Leave. This is Mason on the situation. He's this hot dog guy from I Think You Should Leave. Mason has all the power to do something about it, but he's just like, come on guys, we're all trying to figure out who can fix this. We're all figuring out who can fix this Mickey Mouse rule that we have in place. Well, of course he's not going to do anything. I don't blame him. It benefits him massively.
1 week from now, I will be in the championship. Now, I don't think anybody's surprised that we made it this far, right?
That's impressive right there. I mean, you've got oh my gosh. It looks like the male version of Pippi Longstocking.
I don't care that I have to play Zach in this round. I'm excited about it. What else would I play fantasy football for if it was not to build the best team and play the next best team? And that's exactly what we're doing here.
Again, I had no intentions to even bring this up because I thought I already addressed it in last week's video. But for some reason, Avery, he should have taken this as a sign of respect. I've said many times his team is good. I don't know. He keeps needing this validation.
And this is the biggest match of the Flock League, period, hands down. It will be the biggest game of the Flock League, this game right here.
And yes, of course, I'd rather face Thomas's team. It's strange, though, because Avery, all season long, I want you to go back and watch any video. What is Avery known for doing? Well, Avery is known for making clips about Danny. And what does Avery say about Danny? Avery says, Danny finds this magical way to make everything about himself. And instead of taking it as a sign of respect, Avery somehow made this about himself rather than just me trying to understand how the most Mickey Mouse rule is still in this league. But look, I rest my case. I've already wasted enough breath on this.
So obviously on the one end of the bracket, we have Mason taking on his editor Thomas.
Honestly, between Zach and Avery, I could care less who makes it to the finals, right? I mean, I would say that I probably want Avery there just so I can get the rematch, just so I can make sure we put him in his place for the entire offseason. But also, I mean, Zach's an easy out. Like, if we took Zach out earlier this year, honestly, I don't even think the matchup was close. I think we just blew the doors off his team.
Now, this is the spider that was hanging on my wall. All right, and probably a little bit bigger than this one. That's actually a decently sized huntsman. Now, funnily enough, these are not harmful. Actually, they can't hurt you. Huntsmen, they do not hurt you at all. It's actually the small ones that can really do some damage.
What happened here?
Let's talk about the other matchup that, again, actually matters. There's only one of them this week. There's one matchup that matters, and it's Mason and Thomas.
But of course, we still do have Thomas, who does have a solid team, although a little bit banged up.
Okay, so then we've got the most important matchups that everyone cares about this week, and that starts with, unfortunately, Mason taking on Thomas the Dev, who was able to move on in a close matchup against Austin last week.
50-50 shot against Thomas. Look how even this is. It's within a point. It's within 0.7 of a point here. This is going to be, in my opinion, a very good game. Really, the only reason this is going to be a good game, though, is because, again, Thomas is missing quite a few guys due to injury.
The elephant in the room, quite simply.
But I thought it was fake. So I walk up to it. Again, it's on my wall, right above my pillow. I walk up to it because I'm about to just take it off. Be like, haha, funny guys. And this dude runs up my ceiling, and he's on top of my ceiling looking at me. Again, first night in Australia by myself, moving overseas, and I'm looking there like, holy hell!
Thomas missing his top 2 running backs. Alvin Kamara, they do sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire to the practice squad. And obviously, with David Montgomery tearing his MCL, it will be tough roads for Thomas. He does have Jerome Ford here, solid pickup. Alexander Madison maybe getting a workload, good matchup against Jacksonville, but realistically, losing those 2 hammers is a big deal. Don't let Mason tell you otherwise. And when we look on Mason's side, obviously he's fully healthy.
But even with these injuries to his running backs, and we'll see what happens with Kamara, he's still about a 50-50 coin flip in terms of sleeper projections with Mason. And look, at this point, Mason has caught a lot of breaks. Not only was he like 7th in points scored, like in terms of if we just went based on points scored to get into the fantasy postseason, I don't even think Mason would have made it.
And what I really want to point out is, I know Corey said, oh, you've had one person from every channel in the winners bracket, losers bracket, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't really paying attention.
So obviously a lot of luck to get into that. His team has been better as of late. I will say a lot of that has to do with Jamar Chase popping off.
But I want to correct something for the record. the Flock Fantasy team, we don't have anybody in the losers bracket.
Mason's going to glaze Thomas. Mason's going to say, what a worthy opponent you are. You would beat every other creator in this league.
My editor and myself are 2 of the remaining 4 teams left. Yes. So I'm no mathematician. But what that tells me is if you've watched every single Flock Fantasy YouTube video for the past 3 or 4 years, you're guaranteed to be in the semifinals.
He's going to gas it up to the point where he's going to almost convince y'all that he is almost not a lock to win this matchup. Again, Thomas, great journey.
And to be honest with you, these guys are kind of lucky that we're on the same side of the bracket, right? Because if you put me on the side of the bracket with Zach, I've already spanked that guy once, I'll do it again. And you throw Avery up against my editor, hey, I would like to see Avery give that a shot.
But look, Mason, does he even need this? Does he need this, right? Yeah, you win 150K on Underdog last year, #HowRich. You have a massive YouTube channel. You're living in one of the best cities in the entire world, in my opinion, in Austin, Texas, right? You look like you can just run for 50 to 100 miles out of bed, no worries, and I know you definitely can. You got a lot of things going for you, is what I'll say, right? You got a lot of things going for you. Do you need this?
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm just being honest with you. Like, you want me to be straight, right? Being honest is a good thing. I think that Thomas is better at fantasy football than Mason is. And I know we're going to have a bunch of comments where Mason is the team of destiny and he's going to kill everybody and he's going to win the championship. And I'm glad you're taking off some time from rooting for Duke and the Lakers and the Yankees and the Cowboys to root for Mason. So, I mean, because clearly you all fit that demographic. But
So I spend the next 5 minutes looking at it like, you got to leave or I got to leave. We're a little bit of a stalemate right here. It's like an old Western movie. You know, this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us, is it?
Oh, folks, that might be the one right there. That guy went to Panera, got a fresh baked loaf of bread, and he put it on top of his head.
And as for the toilet bowl, I mean, we have some wild names here. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I don't know if I get canceled for saying this word still, but I'll just avoid saying it, at least publicly, out here in the YouTube world. So,
Would just like to address Tom's new team name, full R word. You know, people are asking why the devs aren't in clips, and I think secretly it's because Mason's worried that they will single-handedly cancel the league. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is from one of the greatest comedy movies of all time. You never go full retard, right? So, but yeah, I think maybe that's why the devs aren't getting an opportunity. Mason's trying to stop them from ultimately getting Flock Fantasy, the brand, canceled.
So we're back into the thick of things. It is week 16. We have to win a game now to get out of the toilet bowl bracket. I have not played yet because I was on bye last week.
we got a 50-50 coin flip. I don't think I've ever seen a 50-50 coin flip at this point in the week between Nathan and Steven. Now, it doesn't even matter the matchup here. We're just looking at these 3 creators.
Badaki's just an all-time fumble. All-time fumble. Corey's been asked since the beginning. And then going over to Nathan, Nathan's turned the corner. I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but Nathan at the beginning of the season, not that funny, not much personality in these clips. But he got that turkey hat and something's gotten into him.
So I spend the next 5 minutes building up courage. I get my shoe. I stand on top of my bed and I go to, it just takes everything in me to do this, guys. I try and smack it. And as I smack it, this bitch runs away. And I'm like, oh my.
really what this is a competition between Nathan, Corey, and Badaki to see who sucks the most. And honestly, I feel like all of these guys suck about an even amount. And, you know, you haven't heard much from them just because, you know, they're in the toilet bowl. When you're in the toilet bowl, you really don't have a ton of room to talk about anything.
The highest score of me, Badaki, and Bush will no longer be in competition for the shirt. So basically, I need to outscore Bush and I need to outscore Badaki this week so that I'm not in the toilet bowl final.
These 2 guys have had some bad luck, especially Badake. His team underperformed last week. Definitely could have beaten Danny for sure, but didn't. I'm hoping that I can get by with Zach Charbonnet again. Hopefully Kenneth Walker is going to be out for another game, but as of now, Charbonnet is not practicing in addition to Kenneth Walker, so we'll have to kind of wait and see there. I feel good this week, though. I mean, Mahomes doesn't look like his injury's too bad. He could play through it. Going to be a difficult fight nonetheless, and hopefully I'm the one who gets out of this thing.
Can this night end? Okay, it's now like past midnight. I'm tired. So I give it one more go. And I'm praying, dear baby Jesus in your gold diapers. I'm saying, God, please help me right now. So I take one more whack, I smack it, and I get it. But what you don't know about a Huntsman is they got blue goo. Yes, I'm not making this up. Blue goo goes all over the wall. And I'm like, great. So it takes me another 15 minutes to clean that up. And then I'm just sitting in bed at night like, yeah, okay, everything's fine. Just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. It's not that common. That doesn't happen often. So that was my first night in Australia. And here's what I will say. It doesn't actually happen often. You don't see these guys very often unless you're living in the bush.
They're all projected pretty close. Badake 128, Bush 124, and 129 for Nathan. So it looks like it's a pretty 50-50 coin flip. We're looking for who is going to have the most points. In my opinion, Nathan, the guy who I beat 2 out of the last 4 weeks.
Is this difficult? Somewhat, because Bush and Badaki both have good players on their own team. But I have Puka and I have Jacobs and I have Kyron Williams and plenty of other good players that are productive as well.
Ended his season. Let me just remind everybody here with the bug spray. If anybody was smart listening to this, you would do exactly what I did and pull out the bug spray to take out Nathan if you're Bush and just make it one-on-one with you and Badaki. Or if you're Badaki, take out Nathan and make it one-on-one with you and Bush. It is that simple.
I wanted to kind of look at the Australian culture as a whole and just to see how it stacks up against America. I think we all know the answer. Vegemite. I have heard of Vegemite. It sounds disgusting. It's a thick, dark brown Australian food spread made from leftover brewer's yeast extract. That sounds completely awful.
So after losing to the haircut man himself, you guys are blessed with, again, seeing me and hearing from me for another week in the toilet bowl. And let's just break down my team this week. I've got Tony Pollard, who is questionable. He's taking on the Colts. He's a must start if he plays against the Colts. Kyron Williams is Kyron Williams.
And although I do work with Corey, he is my co-host on FSC, Nathan's team's been the one that's performing the best as of late. I mean, the way Puka Nacua has been playing, Kyron Williams.
And you got Jerry Jeudy, who's been one of the most consistent wide receivers over the last 2 months. Puka Nacua. Hawkinson's been more of a hit or miss. Josh Jacobs has been one of the most productive running backs. Josh Downs, a little hit or miss. So honestly, I have the option to flex Rachaad White as well, which I might do over Josh Downs because he has a tough matchup this week. We'll see on that one. But look, at the end of the day, I think not only do I have the sexiest hair in the league, I have the sexiest toilet bowl roster heading into this week.
I'm going to say this. If your country is known for a thick, dark brown food spread made from leftovers brewer's yeast, your country probably sucks. They have barbecue. I hate to break it to you, Australia, but we came up with that.
So Avery, bless his heart, he's trying really hard with the bits this week. And one of the bits was that, he wanted to see what Australia was about, and then he went back to be, America, fuck yeah, America. And, talking about how they invented barbecue. So I just did a little Google search, and what I searched in Google was, who invented barbecue? Wait a second. The Native Americans invented barbecue. Hold on. No, this can't, no. An American claiming that America invented something that they stole from the Native Americans. Oh no! Uh-oh!
Meat pie. Okay, that actually sounds pretty good. I would eat meat pie.
Oh, geez, that's rough to look at, isn't it?
Now let's go through things that we have in America. Number one, freedom. Great, awesome. We have a lot of that here. We're able to do what we want.
I love my home. I love America. But sometimes, man, we just think we're the king of the mountain. I promise y'all that is not how the rest of the world views America. And I love you. I want to see America succeed. But we got to pull our heads out of our asses, ladies and gentlemen.
Number two, hamburgers, cheeseburgers. Amazing. If you've ever had a cheeseburger, you know what I'm talking about. Most of you have. Cheeseburgers are great. I eat a lot of them. You can tell when you look at me. But I think that alone puts us above Australia.
All right, there's more outside of the world than America, and again, I love y'all. All right,
you don't have the 4th of July. The 4th of July is, supremely American, and so again, I think when you look at how America stacks up against Australia, there's really no competition there at all. So
on the real for a second, I can tell you that when you go overseas, people do not like Americans, and it's because they assume that everything revolves around America.
I don't know. Maybe I should try some Vegemite. Do they even sell Vegemite here?
Because in my opinion, Nathan has the best team left in the toilet bowl at this point out of the 3 creators remaining. I would rank it at this point. Nathan, Bush, and Badake after that. I think Badake's team at this point, It's not much, right?
Right now, it looks like Badaki would be projected the most points by about half a point over Nathan. And so Badaki at this point would be the favorite to not be on the t-shirt. The highest scoring person of these three will be safe this week. And so I'm not going to talk about this anymore.
I do miss America so much. Avery, he hit a soft spot in my armor. I miss it. I can't deal with where I'm living right now. It's just too...
I will pick Nathan to be the guy that scores the most points this week of the consolation bracket. And then we eventually see both Badaki and Bush rematching next week in the toilet bowl final. But
I cry myself to sleep saying, America, I miss you, America.
I'm rooting for Badake in this matchup. I think Nathan takes it home, and then we can see who Bush, the worst team in this league, has to take down in the fantasy toilet bowl, and who's going to be wearing whoever's face. I hope it's Thomas's face on one of these guys' t-shirts at that point.
These places are too beautiful. My free healthcare is just too much.
Now, every time I see Nathan in one of these videos, I'm like, you know what? This guy has something going on. This guy's really turned the corner. So, Nathan, I have a feeling next year we'll probably end up being a fan favorite. At least I'm sensing it down in the comment section. At least y'all aren't roasting Nathan as much as y'all were earlier in the year. But still, Nathan would be a great candidate to wear the t-shirt. So,
And Zach, you know exactly what his roster looks like because he's the best team in the league, and he's been on vacation for the last couple of weeks.
So yes, we are in the semifinals. It's been a nice couple weeks, taking time off. All the boys are refreshed and ready to go. And, I have said this many times before. It seems like the guy needs a ton of reassurance. Apparently, he's gone all the way back and looked at every single week and has seen that he would have outscored me.
Here's a fun fact for you. In the 14 regular season weeks, if Zach and I had played every week, I would have beat Zach 8 times and he would have beaten me 6 times. I would have a winning record against Zach's team this year. And so me coming out here and saying my team's actually the best team in this league, it's not really a hot take. I don't think this is a hot take at all.
The guy is... I don't need this kind of reassurance, but I'm glad he has it. I want it to be a head-on battle between myself and Avery.
At the end of the day, it's kind of a wash, and this will, regardless, be the matchup that everyone's going to want to follow. Avery taking on Zach.
This is just not good enough, is it? That water's too clear, man!
Their teams speak for themselves at this point. You've seen Avery's team every single week because he complains anytime he loses and shows you his roster, so you know exactly what it looks like.
Looking at our lineup for the semifinals, the Final Four, the matchup against the two best teams in the league. Now, both of us have some guys that are questionable this week, but when I'm looking at my roster, the main thing that sticks out to me is that Kenneth Walker still is doing absolutely everything he can to sabotage my team.
Honestly, my team is in a difficult position here. Derrick Henry versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, Joe Mixon versus the Chiefs. Chiefs are technically the worst matchup you can have for your running back, so we'll see what he does. Those are both on Saturdays or Sunday. Saturday, your guys' time is what I meant to say. And that could be a great or a terrible start off to the weekend. Malik Neighbors has no quarterback. Terry McLaurin, the last time he played them, it was his one bust game since week 3. He got shut down, double, triple covered. And Jonathan Taylor's been absolute dog shit since I traded for him. So
Jonathan Taylor. I know JT hasn't been the JT of old, but still, as a last flex option, that's ridiculous and that's unfair. So both of these teams, man, especially with Kenneth Walker coming back healthy for Avery, this is going to be a shootout. I think the winner of this matchup is probably going to have to drop at least 170.
And I'm going to say this on record, and you can hold me to this. And I don't care if this is dramatic. If I have to sub Kenneth Walker out this week and I lose the matchup because of it, I will burn his jersey on this channel. Mark my words.
I'm not sure that, I don't see why I have a 52% chance. Of course, as we've always done, we will respect the fantasy gods and we will say, hey, may the best team win. But no, I don't know why Avery is making this out to be like like people are saying he's an underdog, because clearly if you look at the matchups, like he should win this game, but obviously we'll have to wait and see what happens.
You can see there's a Colts logo in my lineup, which is probably a bad idea on my part, but they have a really good matchup against Mason Rudolph this week, who also shouldn't be in the NFL.
My thing, what I'm curious to see is if he plays Jaden Daniels or Jared Goff. I think, and he might not admit this, I think that is probably his most difficult decision.
The main thing I'm pretty much worried about with my lineup at this point is after watching Desmond Ridder throw a football last week, which Desmond Ridder shouldn't be in the NFL, by the way, I was a little bit scared that my fairly solid, consistent production from Bowers and Jacoby Myers was going to take a huge hit this week against Zach. What is very good news for my team is that Aiden O'Connell is on track to play again this week, which would be fantastic for Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers dropping 30-point games with Aiden O'Connell. So that is the absolute best case scenario for my team. Now, obviously, if Kenneth Walker doesn't play, I'm subbing in my the worstest, baddest pick this year for me. And that's Travis Etienne.
But for me, the only thing I'm really unsure of right now is Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield. I really don't know which one to start at this point. You know, if Jameis Winston was playing against the Bengals here this week, it would be easy because I could, at least count on him for, the score to get close. But if it's DTR, I just don't know how much I can rely on DTR to make this a game. And I'm a little bit concerned that it might get out of hand and they won't need to throw the ball. So I'm still figuring it out. I'm still kind of figuring it out right now.
And they're also both projected for about 140 points, as neck and neck as it gets. Avery has had the best team all year. He's had to overcome just his team not performing. Zach has had the best team. Then he got guys going down with injuries, and Chris Olave and Chris Godwin. He made some savvy moves to acquire guys like Mike Evans, who are now coming into the fantasy postseason smoking red hot in terms of Evans. And this team for Zach looks pretty good. So I think these are the two best teams. The winner of this, in my opinion, is just automatically the league winner.
Like we've done all year, we respect the fantasy gods, and ultimately we acknowledge them, we recognize them, we're grateful to be where we are, and we know that in this game of chance, all we want to do is advance to the next round.
These guys are lucky. I know a lot of people in the chat were saying, oh my gosh, it's like the championship's going on in week 16 rather than week 17. I don't want to take it that far. Like, I still give Avery / Zach a small percentage chance, whoever wins that, to possibly compete against us in week 17.
I think if anybody needs this, it's Thomas, your editor. The guy who, in my opinion, based on the size of your YouTube channel at this point, should maybe be making 2 to 3 times as much. Should maybe be just as popular and famous as you. But no, he's behind the scenes doing the dirty work. And you can't just let him have this one.
Honestly, I could say anything about Mason, good, bad, in between, and I'll get called a hater. Mason will straight up call me a pathetic fantasy football manager, and everybody's like, oh yeah, it's true.
You had to go and get multiple guys on this team injured. You said that last week, not me, your word. You had to put in the word to get those guys injured, David Montgomery and Alvin Kamara.
But yeah, it looks like no matter how you cut it, the OG Flock crew will have one member of the two representing in the championship, and I think everybody knows it will be yours truly.
So if I did have to pick a winner, again, I did pick Mason in the other side of the bracket.
Mason winning this league would probably be the worst possible scenario for all of us creators. I just hope you know that. What the was that?
After all this guy has done for you, putting that YouTube channel on his back, you weren't going to edit those videos, right? Trust me, I know. I'm not editing mine. You weren't going to edit your videos. Thomas, the guy who deserves this the most in the entire league, in my opinion. The guy that I'm rooting for in the Final Four. Yes, I know the rest are creators. I know I'm a creator. I'm rooting for Thomas.
It's about as close as you can get for projections. My points have dialed back about 1.5 points since yesterday. And so this is going to be a 48-52 probability from the awful sleeper projections. I'm going to be an underdog really, I haven't been an underdog very much this season at all. I will be an underdog in this game, though, by 2.8 points. And so
I can't live in a place that looks like this. This is just too much. It's too beautiful, man. Miss America.
But that is right. I am rooting for Thomas over the rest of these other 3 creators that are still left in it. I would say Zach is a close second, but Thomas, the guy who's behind the scenes, doing the dirty work, grinding, building the YouTube channel off of his back, I would say 51% of the credit goes to Thomas and 49% for Mason showing up and putting the content out there. But Thomas deserves this one, in my opinion. Mason, don't you have enough already? Don't you have enough?
Guys, look at this. Again, say what you want, but if this video has taught you one thing, it should have taught you that my hair has versatility. I can have any hairstyle I want, really.
Dak has had some very funny clips this season. Obviously, he's had some really good bits. And I think the main thing that I think of when I think of Zach is his dedication and his love for Chili's. And that's all fine and great, but I do want to check something real quick. Just because I don't want any false information going around. And I think that for Zach to love Chili's so much, wait a second. Shut the front door. Hold on.
This might blow some of your minds. There are these things. You might see them across the beautiful sky. They look like birds, but they are actually planes.
You're telling me that this man champions an American restaurant that does not have any restaurant locations in Australia?
I don't even understand how it works. But these things carry like sometimes 300 to 500 people through the air over oceans.
You're telling me this dude spent all season building his entire image around a restaurant he can't even go to because he lives in Kangarooville.
As you guys know, as you guys would have seen, Team Danny out there, officially hashtag Chili's and COD. We are on Team Zach going forward. All I have to see is the clip of that guy watching Call of Duty in a Chili's to know my answer to that question. So we're going Zach. We're going Mason. That is going to end up being the championship in this league, in my opinion.